Well, first, I'd like to welcome everyone to our annual meeting of the membership of the Greater Cleveland Habitat for Humanity. If you've logged on to a different Zoom call and we're expecting something else, you can log off now, but that's the purpose of this Zoom meeting. Welcome, everyone. It's, was it 6:01 now? And I'm calling our annual meeting to order. Everyone should have received, when they registered for this annual meeting, at least 3 documents. One, the agenda for the meeting. Second, a document that gives some information about our board of directors. And third, the minutes of last year's annual meeting. We'll be referring to some of those documents during this meeting. So the first item that requires a motion on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the 2020 annual meeting. And I'm hoping everyone has had an opportunity to look at that. And I'm asking for a motion to approve those minutes. Wait, I hear Larry. Larry, you made a motion to approve.
I second.
Okay. That was Amy. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone?
Aye.
Anyone opposing? I don't hear any opposition, so we're going to say that the minutes were unanimously passed. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the election of directors. If you may want to look at the second document that should have been attached to the email that you received when you registered, and it identifies 2 new proposed board members, along with the list of our existing board members that are up for re-election for the term ending December of 2024. So our new members include Spencer Krebs, who's an associate attorney at Cavich Familo Durkin. Information about Spencer is on that paper. I'm not going to read that to everyone, but feel free to read it at your leisure. And then David Rubis, who's Director of Client Development at Fairport Wealth Hightower Advisors. So those are the proposed 2 new members to the board. And the existing board members that are up for re-election include Adam Nazette, Robert Walker, yours truly, Michael Owendoff, Adam Prim, Sarah Shake, and Tyson Mitchell. So I ask for a motion and a second to vote to approve this slate of board candidates.
So moved, Gary Fell.
Second, Mark Nylander.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? I don't hear any opposition, so that motion passes. Next on our agenda is other business. Do I turn that over to you now, John?
No, you can solicit any business you want or any people who have other business.
Okay, I have one item. I just wanted to make note that there are 4 members of the board that are retiring: John Baymiller, Brian Dardis, Gary Fell, and Matthew McFeeters. And I just want to say thank you so much to all of them for their efforts over the years. Their contributions were really appreciated, and we are so happy that you were part of the board when you have been, and you've been a wonderful contributors to this board, and thank you very much. Is there any other business that anyone wants to bring up at this meeting? Hearing no other business, we need to adjourn to the annual report and volunteer recognition. Can I have a motion for that?
So moved, Gary.
Mark second, Nylander.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Now I get to turn it over to John.
There you go. Thank you. And let's see if I'm not as competent as Mike in many ways, like including electronically, but let's see if I can get this right. We must have been handing out free drinks and food tonight because we have such an outstanding turnout. I think there's over 100 people participating. It really is wonderful. And so sit back and enjoy your evening. I want to show you some pictures of some new staff members. We have added staff this year, and I think you'll find, I'm doing a little technical correct here. I think you'll find that you'll find many of these new staff members engaging. So here they are. There we go. And as you can see, they come from all walks of life, but all silliness aside, we wanted to do something a little more fun this year in trying to engage our volunteers. And so we had a pumpkin contest, and you can see a lot of these very creative pumpkins, and then you can see staff and volunteers associated with these various pumpkins. The pumpkins we did find out the pumpkins do rot after a while, but they certainly were good hosts to multiple fruit flies that invaded our office. So the pumpkins are all gone now. Okay, so we adopted a strategic plan in 2019, and we said we were going to do certain things. And what I wanted to do, we're 3 years into that strategic plan, basically update you on what has occurred with the goals we set forth in that plan. We said we would build viable communities, and in doing so, we would provide affordable home ownership for 125 families and produce 75 new houses and 50 rehab. Well, we were doing pretty well, and then something with a C happened called COVID. So far we've built 18 new, but we've really been able to do far more rehab, which is very fortunate because it costs a lot less to rehab a house than to build a new house. But we're at about 62, halfway to that goal. So I very much doubt we'll hit another 62 in the next 2 years, but you never know. I think certainly by the end of 24, we'll have hit that 125 houses. We said we'd focus our housing activities in 2 to 3 neighborhoods, and we have just so much going on in the Buckeye Woodhill area. And then, of course, we did our 6 houses on Reel plus a spruce up event. And we've gone into Euclid to serve our smallest families. So as you know, Habitat serves families of 1 or more. I just saw an application today that came in, by the way, for a family of 13. I think we're going to have to figure out what kind of house that's going to look like. But we serve families of 1 to 13. And in Euclid, we've been able to invest in some townhomes that have been very, very popular for our smallest families of 1 and 2 people. You know, we do these neighborhood spruce up events, and we said we'd do 200 over the course of the strategic plan. And we did 55 in 2019. Obviously, we couldn't do any last year or this year because of COVID, but that's a pretty exciting thing we do for the whole neighborhood. And it becomes more like a festival. The neighbors get to know each other. They turn out, they're very appreciative. So we look forward to resuming those hopefully next year. We said, let's increase home ownership sustainability. We want families to stay in their homes. And let me tell you, overall, our success rate is 95%. And what does that mean? Basically, 95% of the families we serve become successful homeowners, and 5% unfortunately lose their homes. And we say we increase our on-time payment rate to 85%. That's kind of a bouncing ball sometimes as we approach the end of the year. People are more focused on holiday shopping sometimes, and that might dip down a few points. And then come beginning of the year, it goes back up. So overall for 2021, we're averaging 85%, which is what our goal was for the strategic planning period. And I'll let you just read those and try to, what can we do to ensure the success of homeowners and better screening factors and et cetera. Obviously, to do 125 homes, we're going to have to raise a lot of money. And 8 million of that was just for the construction budget. And I'm pleased to say we've raised 5 million of that through 2021. And overall, over the past 3 years, we've raised 7.3 million in private philanthropic donations. We also said we were going to utilize federal home funds for both new and rehab homes. And 800,000 was committed in home funds, of which we received 366,000 so far. And we also said we'd obtained federal home loan bank grants for new and rehabs. The FHLB committed 625,000, of which we've been able to draw 215,000 on. And then last, we said we were going to leverage our mortgages in a securitization process to help finance new construction and rehabs. And so far, we've used 1.8 million for 55 houses, and almost $4 million remains. That has helped fund 20 new houses and 35 rehabs. The Restore is such an important part of our revenue streams. We're very fortunate as a nonprofit to have an enterprise activity which supports our activities. We said we'd like to maintain a 33 to 35% net from our sales. You can see what happened in 2019, and then it dipped, of course, last year to COVID, but this year we're up to 32.4%.
Wow.
We said we'd expand the Restore East, which we did, but we have put on hold opening of the third Restore, and we'll see what happens with that over the next couple of years. You know, everybody knows that prices are up. It's to me how much some prices are up. I went to Costco the other day to buy my 3-pound can of coffee, which is usually $8.50. It was $13.50. I think all of you probably have encountered sticker shock as you were going to the stores. But that sticker shock also means there's wage inflation. And, you know, we want to try to be as competitive as possible with our employees. But obviously, wage inflation is going to have some impact on our budget in the coming months and years. Other highlights over the last 3 years, you know, we had our 4th year of the Boys and Girls Club. And most of you know that every year up to 16 inner city high school students undergo a 10-week training program on how to rehab a house. And they get their OSHA certification, they get trained in using hand tools, and then they get on-the-job training. And we've been very fortunate that the foundation supporting that work has renewed for 2 more years. And also, a challenge we've had is how do you efficiently serve the single person family? And as I said earlier, we found these townhomes that are a nice community in Cleveland, in Euclid, I'm sorry. Originally, we acquired 6 of them. All have been selected. We have now acquired or in the process of acquiring 10 more, and 4 of those 10 have been selected. This is 1/2 the cost of our previous options. So we've been able to find a very efficient, cost-effective way to serve our smallest families. Other highlights, you know, our growth in the walk revenues, it seems like the virtual walks have been raising more money than the real walks. But you can see this year, even in a virtual walk, we raised $140,000. So next year is our 35th anniversary, and you'll see that number 350. And some of you may get calls from me asking if you'd like to do something with the 350 in front of it. Hopefully a few more zeros after that. But I don't know if 350,000 is our goal for this. We're going to do a very special walk this year at the Cleveland Zoo. That's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll meet some new friends in cages and out of cages as well. We've had some amazing inventory donated this year. Our house furniture gave us 6 tractor trailers full of furniture. Some of you who bought some of that stuff. And recently, I call it the Moen Windfall. I don't know the exact number. I know it's over $1 million in new merchandise that Moen has donated to this habitat. And it doesn't hurt having a member of the executive team at Moen on our board. You know, Habitat is an international organization, and all Habitat affiliates are expected to support the work overseas. We decided to do work in Zambia, and we committed to doing 50 houses over there over 5 years, of which 30 have now been completed. But very, very important is clean water and sanitation. So where you find Habitat building homes for families, they're also providing clean water, which, as you know, is the source of many waterborne illnesses that hurt so many children. You know, our idea when we started focusing our work in specific neighborhoods and trying to basically get the biggest bang for the dollar, the question was, could Habitat be a catalyst for neighborhood revitalization? And we've done a lot of work in Buckeye Woodhill now, which, by the way, has the best view of downtown. You know, there's a street called Grandview, and it's called Grandview because if you're on that street, you have the best view of downtown Cleveland. So it truly is a grand view. And some of these houses are looking really nice. But we thought if we get in there and do some of our work, the private sector eventually will follow. You basically have to have the loss leader, which was Habitat. Now you see, here's a picture of 42 new market rate townhouses to be built right around the corner from where we're working on Grandview, Hulda, Shale, and Crestwood. And those units will cost in the low to mid 200,000s. So folks, it's working. And we've shown you heat maps before, as when Habitat establishes a position in a neighborhood, it seems like the crime really drops dramatically. And that is so satisfying to see. You know, we take this in context of a 3-year strategic plan. Well, let's see what's happened over the past 10 years. And you can see back to very humble beginning, because the Great Recession and the Great Foreclosure Crisis really hurt this city and hurt Habitat as well. We were down to doing 1 house. And in 2011, we did 3 houses. But we lost so much, but there were so many people waiting in the wings to get back involved with Habitat. And you can see quickly we were able to recover ourselves. And whereas before we averaged 6 houses a year, now we're averaging over 20 houses a year. That happens because so many people came together, and volunteers, I say it over and over again, and it's absolutely true, volunteers make Habitat happen. So it seems like we went from 1 to 3 and then we ramped up. And now we have an opportunity to ramp up even more. Last year during COVID, you know, our productivity dropped, of course. You know, so many volunteers did not come, and rightly so did not come. And we kind of took a step back. But this year, still with COVID going on, we've kind of basically recovered where we were pre-COVID. And this is the type of work that volunteers enable us to do. Now I say we have 23 houses. We'll finish 24 houses. What happens is we finish, now the city of Cleveland has to do its part. Sometimes that takes a little longer, or maybe I should say a lot longer than we would like. But those houses will be done, and hopefully families will be occupying all of them in time for the holiday season. You know, we started that idea of neighborhood revitalization on a street called Colfax that was 1 street north of Kinsman. And I remember taking our board on a bus trip through that neighborhood. And some of you will remember you were on that bus and going through this neighborhood that looked pretty bad. It was called the Forgotten Triangle. But we said, look, we picked up 7 houses to fully rehab. And we said, let's do a spruce up. And you'll see the picture on the left is people actually helping other homeowners do some modest repairs on their homes. But you can see on the picture on the left, there's the Cleveland Habitat House. And in the last 12 months, they've been building brand new houses on that street. And if you go on Colfax today, You won't believe it. It's been such a dramatic turnaround, and I'm so proud of the role that Greater Cleveland Habitat for Humanity has played in the transformation of that street and that neighborhood, and you should be proud of yourselves. The Restore, you can see back in 2010, it was almost $250,000, and you can see now we're beyond 10 times that amount. And already this year, our previous high was 2.34 million. We exceeded that October 31st of this year. So we project that by the end of this year, we will have $2.6 million in Restore sales. That will generate $800,000 in net profits, if I can use that term, for construction. So the Restore is a fun place. It's a challenging place. It's particularly challenging in this employment environment because that entry-level worker is getting more difficult to secure. But the Restore helps so many people. It's just not the money it helps for construction, but it's the folks trying to remodel on a dime or a dollar. People who can't afford a brand new couch can come and get a decent couch here or a new kitchen table and stuff. So really provides some great services beyond the net revenues it generates for Habitat. And you can see some of our very handsome volunteers on here and in action. And this is what this night is supposed to be. Here, a little report on what's been going on this past year, but then also celebrate you, the volunteers that make Habitat happen. This year, obviously, we cannot be in person, but we asked each team to nominate volunteers who really represent the best of what they're doing in their individual site projects. So this is the Doug and Brendan crew, and you'll see some folks there. And special recognition, this guy named Gerard Winstanley, I actually worked with his mother-in-law 30 years ago. I still haven't connected with him, but you know that old saying, it is a very, very small world. This is Joe and the R&B crew. Ranger, you'll see the number 2 volunteer is actually the dog. And those of you who know me know Bones comes to work. So Bones is the dog here, but Ranger helps that construction team stay on target and knows how to bark very well too. This is the Robert and crew. I was with them yesterday for a fried chicken lunch, and they're working on some of those Euclid townhouses. And you know, the nice thing about these townhouses, you can get in and out of them pretty fast. And this crew, I think they said they've worked on 5 or 6 already, and another crew's worked on another half dozen. So they're making a difference in Euclid. The Lutheran crew, this is like a sample. There's like 27 people on this crew, the Lutheran crew, and they do 3 houses at a time. And it's just an outstanding, they're all outstanding groups, but the Lutherans have been with us for so long, and they'll let non-Lutherans in too. So if any of you are non-Lutheran, they'll welcome you. The Stand crew, they're also working out in Euclid, doing on what we call the Blisswood townhouses. The other development is called the Benton Village. So this is Stan and his crew. And this is Dante and the Plumbing Crew. So, you know, we have plumbers, and actually there's one guy on the right there. He looks just like one of our staff members, and it just so happens that's his older brother. And the guy on the left, his name is Gabriel. He's our newest staff member in construction. And of course, there's Dante, who's become our master plumber. This is Omar and the Electrical Crew, Dave and John. And it's really great to have that expertise on staff. It saves us a lot of money, and you don't have to wait in line. And I know people really love volunteering with Omar because they learn how to do things. And something like changing a light switch would be daunting, not after you've worked with Omar though. The Restore West team. Now there are, you know, you got to hand it to the Restore volunteers. They're not directly connected to the mission, but man, they show up and I would say they have a lot of fun. The Restore is actually a lot of fun You never know what you're going to find. It's a few headaches here and there too. But the Restore volunteers, they've been slower to come back, but they are so very important to us. And Restore East team, the Restore East team does about, if you put together the whole volume 100% being Restore sales, the west side is about 2/3 and the east side is about 1/3. And it just so happens wherever we open a Restore, they open up a huge Amazon fulfillment center across the street. And by the way, if you haven't been to our location lately, there's a new Amazon fulfillment center across the street. We thought parking would be a problem, but not yet. And this is our office team. And many of you know Marie Her, who's been around for a long time. She's our Tuesday girl. And our staff members who work with her. And that's it. I'd ask if anyone has any questions. I don't know how I would take the questions. What's that?
If you have a question, just come back on from mute and ask your question.
Yeah, if you have any questions, we have plenty of time. If not, I'm glad I answered all your questions up front. I do want to thank you for a year of tremendous accomplishments. You know, we do it one house at a time, but you know, when you do 23 houses and you focus them in specific neighborhoods, you really are not only changing families for generations, but you're also bringing back a forgotten neighborhood back to life. And it is so wonderful to see that actually happen. And I'd encourage you to take a drive sometime. If you're on the west side, try the new Opportunity Corridor. We love it. It comes right by our houses. And we'd love to see you out there. And if you haven't seen our houses, you want to see the Triple L model, you know, give us a call. We'll make sure you get to see what we're building for our new families. So thank you very much. I don't know, is there anything else we need to cover?
I have a question.
Yes.
I know your name's not Peggy. You're not Peggy, are you?
Well, it depends what your question is.
You had mentioned that about 5% of your residents, you know, I guess default on their payments.
Yes.
What do you do with those houses?
We fix them up again for another family. And I would tell you, nobody loses a house if they make an effort. You know, our families often live on the economic edge. And, you know, they run into problems. You know, a very common one is, I need a new set of tires. What am I going to do? I got to get to work. Or, and this is not uncommon. Grandma died. We all have to pitch in for the funeral, right? So we're the friendly bank. As long as you make an effort, you're going to be successful. And that is what makes the difference between a Habitat and a traditional bank. We can be far more flexible.
How tied are you to the Restore store? Do you get furnishings for the families from there? Or
No.
How does that work?
No, everything we do in houses is brand new materials. We feel that we want to rehab a house or make a new house so that there is a 10-year window where there's not going to be any major repairs. So everything that goes into these houses are brand new. A lot of it is donated materials, like Moen, for instance, is donating a lot of the kitchen and bath stuff. You had Sherwin-Williams donating paint. We had Whirlpool Appliances donating Whirlpool appliances. But everything is new in our family's homes.
So has President Jimmy Carter ever came to town to help you guys?
President Carter was here in 1980. In fact, I was at the debate between him and Jimmy Carter, and him and Ronald Reagan back in 1980 at the old public hall. But I haven't seen him back in town since then. But President Carter, at 97 years old, still volunteers. Now, he's not doing the heavy lifting, but he and Rosalind still show up. Any other questions? Well, let's stop tonight by being very thankful that we have an opportunity to do good for others, to do good for our community. that we have an opportunity to have good health, something not to be taken for granted. And please accept my very best wishes for a happy, peaceful, healthy Thanksgiving. Thank you for your support.